You know what is interesting about people who remember their dreams? They do not simply wake up knowing that something happened. They wake up carrying another world inside them. The room is still there. The weather has a temperature. The stranger's voice has a tone. The final sentence remains so clear that it can follow them through the entire day. Meanwhile, someone sleeping beside them may wake from an equally vivid night and remember absolutely nothing. No images, no story, not even a feeling. Some people wake grieving for someone who never existed. Some discover an answer in sleep that their waking mind spent weeks trying to reach. Some are disturbed by a single dream for years. And some insist with complete confidence that they never dream at all. But here is what most people get wrong. The difference is not simply that one person has a richer imagination and the other does not. It is not proof that one mind is deeper, smarter, or more spiritually connected. And it is not evidence that the person who remembers nothing lived through an empty night. Dreaming is one event. Remembering the dream is another. Those two experiences feel inseparable, but inside the brain, they are not the same process. You can live through an entire emotional story while sleeping and still fail to create a memory your waking mind can reach. In other words, an empty morning does not mean an empty night. Your brain may have built cities, conversations, dangers, reunions, and losses that disappeared during the few seconds between sleep and consciousness. And understanding why some of those worlds survive reveals something fascinating about the way certain minds process inner experience. Dreams can appear across different stages of sleep, but the vivid, emotional, story-like dreams people remember most often are strongly associated with REM sleep. During REM, the brain enters one of the strangest conditions in human consciousness. The regions involved in emotion and visual imagery can become intensely active. Memories collide with fears. Places merge with people. Old experiences borrow the faces of current relationships. At the same time, the systems responsible for strict reality checking do not operate exactly as they do when you are awake. The result is a world that can be completely impossible and still feel unquestionably real. Your childhood home becomes an airport. Your 7th grade teacher becomes the pilot. You discover that the plane is flying underwater, and not once does your sleeping mind stop to ask whether any of this makes sense. The part of you that demands evidence has become less influential, so the dream does not have to be logical. It only has to feel convincing. Meanwhile, another system is protecting your body from the world unfolding inside your head. The brainstem suppresses much of the muscle activity that would otherwise make you physically act out the scene. Your eyes move beneath your eyelids, your breathing changes, your heart may accelerate, but most of your voluntary muscles remain remarkably still. Your mind is running through a burning building while your body lies quietly beneath a blanket. And here is where the mystery begins. How can something feel powerful enough to change your heart rate and still vanish before your feet touch the floor? How can the emotion survive when the story does not? The answer begins with the unusual chemical environment of REM sleep. During REM, noradrenergic activity becomes extremely low. This creates conditions very different from those involved in ordinary waking memory formation. When you are awake, norepinephrine helps the brain respond to events that require attention. It tells the system that something matters, something changed, something may need to be kept. But the sleeping brain operates under a different memory regime. The hippocampus remains involved in sleep and memory, but the experience is not packaged like an ordinary event from your day. The dream can be emotionally enormous while remaining neurologically fragile. It is happening, but it is not necessarily being prepared for later retrieval. Then, in 2019, researchers led by Shuntaro Izawa uncovered another piece of the puzzle. They studied neurons that produce melanin-concentrating hormone, better known as MCH. These neurons become active during REM sleep, and their activity appeared to contribute to the forgetting of hippocampus-dependent memories in mice. When the researchers inhibited these neurons during REM, the mice performed better on certain memory tests. This pointed toward a possibility most people had never considered. Sleep does not only strengthen memory, sleep also forgets. The brain is not simply deciding what should remain. It is also weakening what no longer deserves space. But the experiment did not place a microphone in front of a mouse and ask what it dreamed about. It measured memory behavior, so it does not prove that a tiny cleanup crew enters your dreams each night and deliberately destroys the story. What it does reveal is something more important. Forgetting during sleep can be active. And dream memories may be especially vulnerable to that process. They are vivid while you are inside them, but they are fragile at the border between night and day. To To survive that border, a dream usually needs something very specific. It needs a bridge. Psychologists describe this through what is known as the arousal retrieval model. A brief awakening creates a narrow period in which the sleeping experience can enter waking memory. If you wake while the dream is still active, part of it may cross over with you. If you continue sleeping without interruption, the dream may remain intense while it happens and become completely inaccessible by morning. This is why the person who remembers several dreams each week may not actually dream more than the person who remembers none. They may simply wake more often at the right time. Their sleep may contain more moments of arousal. They may remain awake for slightly longer. And during those brief openings, they may turn their attention inward before the dream disappears. A 2019 sleep study found that frequent dream recallers experienced more and longer awakenings, particularly from stage 2 non-REM sleep. Earlier laboratory work also found that recall becomes much more likely when people are awakened directly from a dreaming period. Timing changes everything. Two people can have equally vivid dreams. One wakes while the image is still glowing. The other continues sleeping until the image has already dissolved. One carries the story into breakfast. The other wakes with a blank page. But here is the part that surprises people most. Remembering dreams does not automatically mean that your mind is more gifted. And forgetting them does not mean your imagination is weaker. Frequent recall can sometimes be connected to lighter or more interrupted sleep. But even that is not the whole story. Attention matters. Interest matters. Emotion matters. Personality matters, and what you do during the first minute after waking may matter more than you realize. People who believe their dreams are worth remembering are more likely to search for them. They remain still. They look for a feeling. They follow one image until it leads to another. They write down fragments before the outside world takes over. And through repetition, the mind learns that dream material deserves attention. What begins as a single remembered face can slowly become an entire conversation. What begins as a vague feeling can reopen the room in which the feeling occurred. The memory was not necessarily stronger from the beginning. The person simply learned how to catch it before it disappeared. But research suggests that timing and habit may still not explain everything. Neuroscientist Jean-Baptiste Eichenlaub and his colleagues compared frequent and infrequent dream recallers using brain imaging. Frequent recallers showed greater resting activity in regions including the temporoparietal junction and the medial prefrontal cortex. These regions are involved in attention to internal experience, self-related processing, and the construction of mental scenes. The finding does not create one universal personality shared by everyone who remembers dreams. Human minds are far too complicated for that. But it suggests that frequent recall may be more than a lucky awakening. Some minds may remain more responsive to inner events during both sleep and wakefulness. They do not merely have an experience, they notice themselves having it. They turn toward the image instead of allowing it to pass. They feel the emotional residue before they have words for its source. And this is where dream recall begins to connect with a way of moving through the world. Research has found modest associations between dream recall and traits such as openness, absorption, and interest in imagination. Absorption is the tendency to become deeply immersed in an experience. A song does not simply play in the background. It changes the atmosphere of the room. A story does not simply entertain you. For a while, it replaces the world around you. A memory does not simply appear. It arrives with texture, emotion, and physical weight. If you have ever become so absorbed in music that you forgot where you were, you already understand this kind of mind. It does not stand outside experience and observe from a distance. It enters. It feels. It stays longer than other minds seem to stay. During the day, people may call this sensitivity. They may call it introspection. They may call it overthinking. At night, the same style of processing can appear as vivid imagery, emotionally intense dreams, and unusually strong recall. You may wake carrying something no one around you can see. You got into bed, turned off the lights, closed your eyes. You got into bed, turned off the lights, closed your eyes. You got into bed, turned off the lights, closed your eyes. You got into bed, turned off the lights, closed your eyes. You can dream that you failed and carry the shame into a meeting that has not even begun. You can dream that someone you love is gone and feel relief when you hear their voice later that morning. The story was imaginary. The emotional after effect was not. This is the hidden cost of a vivid inner world. The dream ends. The body continues reacting. The person beside you sees an ordinary morning. You are still returning from somewhere they cannot enter, and when that happens often enough, it can create a very specific kind of loneliness. You begin to wonder whether your mind is revealing something deeper than other people can access. You search for symbols, you replay conversations, you look for warnings, prophecies, and secret meanings. But here is where awareness can quietly become a trap. Vivid dreams are not a hidden IQ test. They do not prove superior intuition. They do not guarantee creativity, prophecy, or access to some universal truth. Some studies have found higher creativity scores among frequent dream recallers. But a correlation is not a destiny. The real difference is more subtle. Some minds appear more permeable to spontaneous images, distant associations, and emotional material. That permeability is neither automatically a gift nor automatically a burden. It becomes a gift when you know what to do with what comes through. It can support creativity when you shape the raw material instead of merely admiring it. It can support self-understanding when you examine the emotion without treating the dream as literal fact. It can support problem-solving when an unusual connection is tested against waking evidence. And it can become exhausting when every image is treated as an instruction. The dream may contain emotional truth without containing literal prediction. A dream about losing your home may reflect instability, change, memory, fear, or nothing you can confidently interpret at all. There is no universal symbol dictionary hiding one correct answer beneath every image. Dreams are constructions made from recent experiences, older memories, bodily sensations, current concerns, and spontaneous associations. They are not equations, and no single theory has explained all of them. Francis Crick and Graham Mitchison proposed that dreaming may help weaken unhelpful patterns inside neural networks. Antti Revonsuo proposed that dreams simulate threats and allow the mind to rehearse responses. Other theories focus on memory integration, emotional regulation, predictive processing, or dreaming as a byproduct of the sleeping brain. Each explanation opens one door. None opens the entire building. And perhaps that is why dreams remain so powerful. They are familiar enough to feel personal and mysterious enough to resist complete control. If you want to remember them, the most effective first step is not to sacrifice your sleep. It is to protect the first quiet moments after waking. Before bed, place a notebook within reach. Tell yourself that you intend to remember whatever remains in the morning. Then, when you wake naturally, do not immediately reach for the phone. Do not check the time. Do not force the mind into the demands of the day. Remain still for a moment. Search first for an emotion, then look for a place, a person, an image, the final moment before you woke up. Write down whatever appears, even if it is only 3 words. Do not force the fragments into a complete story. The mind is capable of filling gaps so smoothly that invention can begin to feel like recall. Record what is there. Allow the rest to remain uncertain. And do not deliberately damage healthy sleep by setting repeated alarms or drinking excessive water simply to capture more dreams. The quality of your sleep matters more than collecting footage from it. If vivid dreams are frequent, distressing, or connected to poor sleep, treat them as a sleep concern rather than proof of unusual perception. When you reflect on a dream, stop asking only what it predicts. Ask what emotion remained. Ask which waking concern feels similar. Ask whether the dream created a perspective worth testing in reality. This turns recall into reflection instead of superstition. It turns sensitivity into a skill instead of an identity you constantly have to defend. And it allows the dream to inform you without controlling you. Over time, you may discover something important about your inner world. It is neither a defect nor a certificate of superiority. It is raw material, images waiting to be shaped, emotions waiting to be understood, connections waiting to be tested. What makes that material intelligent is not how vividly it appears. It is your ability to observe it, question it, use it, and know when to let it disappear. Forgetting a dream is not your brain betraying you. Remembering one is not proof that you have unlocked a secret unavailable to everyone else. Both reveal a mind constantly deciding what will cross the border between night and day. And if you are someone who feels more, imagines more, and carries inner experiences longer, you are not strange for being affected by worlds no one else can see. But your deepest gift is not the number of dreams you recover. It is what you do after you wake up. It is the ability to turn an image into creativity without confusing it with reality, to turn an emotion into understanding without allowing it to become fear, to let the darkness show you something without handing it control of the light. Your dreams may reveal the intensity of your inner world. Your intelligence is revealed by the way you carry that world into waking life. If this video gave language to something you have experienced quietly for years, leave a comment with the dream you still remember most clearly. And if you want to understand the hidden processes shaping your mind while you are not paying attention, subscribe so you will not miss the next video. Goodbye, sleep well, and whatever your mind creates tonight, remember that the most important part of the dream may be the person who wakes up from it.